Welcome to Module 2 of our Writing Smarter course. Last course, we kind of laid some groundwork looking at some definitions and some examples of what authentic and collaborative writing can look like across the curriculum. And we're going to keep building on that as we go. We are going to address the writing process. I'm going to assume that some of you are writing teachers and others of you are teaching writing, but it wasn't your content area. Maybe you're a math teacher. I just talked to a math teacher who had her geometry students write a paper at the beginning of the year, a research paper. And so I know that a lot of you are outside of content areas. And for those of us even in writing as a content area, how we approach writing process has probably evolved and changed quite a bit over our teaching writing experience. I'm going to maintain the assertion that if we can engage students in the writing process throughout the context that they're writing in and the contents that they're writing in, that we are going to see better writing, and that writing is going to produce or be more reflective of what the students really learned and obtained through the process. So process is important is the bottom line. Let's go ahead and look at the objectives for this unit. Again, you're seeing the beta version of this course. When you are actually taking the course, it's going to look slightly different, but the content will be the same. Okay, students are going to explore, you being the student, are going to explore why teaching the writing process is important, and I already kind of asserted why I think it is, and we'll see if we can find some other sources that would also kind of feed into that philosophy that we have to engage them in the process of being thinkers and learners. I just talked to my son about this today. He's, like I mentioned before, he's a freshman, and he's really caught up with end products right now, whether it be baseball or final grades or exam grades or whatever. His focus is very much on end products, and he ends up spending the process worrying about the end product. So how can we, what can we do, moving on to the what, can we do to establish some routines that are consistent and constant, that take away the focus on the end and help students to lessen that anxiety and to really build some great writing. So what contexts can we use to establish consistent and constant writing in and between content areas? And a lot of writing, and any writer will tell you that you need to write often, consistently, and constantly. So what can we do in all subject areas to create this atmosphere of consistent and constant practice? When I first started teaching writing, I thought I had to grade everything, and I treated every piece of writing as a final assessment or summative assessment, and it's not. In fact, writing doesn't have to be an assessment period. It can be part of the process. So what can we what types of contexts can we create for writing? And then finally, how are we going to facilitate a collaborative and engaging writing process across content areas? How can we take the isolation out of writing again, and throughout the process of writing, make it an engaging and communicative type of process? So those are the things that I'm excited to explore with you in this module. Here are a few things, at both tools and readings for you. And I always wince a little bit at this best practices phrase, but I think there's something to be said about looking at teaching writing as a we are practitioners, and so we should be looking for best practices. This is talking about the format of Writing Workshop, and Writing Workshop is sort of, I think I mentioned beginning of when I introducing myself that these little mini lectures were kind of spawned from that idea that we have about a 15-minute attention span, and if I can in 15 minutes or less lay some groundwork and then let students do the thinking and the questioning and the inquiring and whatever you want to call it, but through inquiring and through workshopping their work, it's going to be messy and loud. It's not going to be desks and straight rows, but let's look what this looks like. And this is all about the writing workshop and what that can look like in any classroom, not just the writing classroom. This Colorado State, I remember I said we'd come back to WAC at some point because it's kind of a clearinghouse area. This specifically addresses the question, why should we consider collaborative writing, period? And then They also have a space on, ironically, this is also from the same site, but I've seen this article in other places because it's a very good one. It's a little longer, but she talks about the reflective writing and revision process. In other words, giving students a chance to reflect and collaborate throughout the entire process, not just when it's over. And then rewritethink.org is a great K-12 resource, but if you're teaching higher grades, I think you can find some things that might also work for you. Um, they have something called student interactives, and if you search that site for their student interactives, you'll find that they are um, online tools to help students generate their writing, and they would work really well as a tool for collaborative writing as well. You could have students sharing a computer, especially if you have shortage of technology in your system. So the student interactives, they're free, and a lot of them tie into different lessons, and you can even play around in some of the writing ideas they have for across curriculum there as well. Finally, then we're going to culminate into our next installment of our portfolio of sorts. I'd like you to take what you started with, that chart, and refine your writing question or project that you began charting in Module 1 to create it out of it 3 tasks. Assignments, activities, interactive spaces that students will participate in using different phases of the writing process, collaboration, and drawing on more than one content area. So we're going to create 3 things for students to do, and I'm purposely being vague with that because I want to leave this very open to whatever content you're starting in. You might be starting this initiative in the science classroom and not as a writing teacher. So maybe this will be one of your tasks will actually be a lab that ends up spawning whatever it is that you're going to have them do with writing. But 3 tasks that students will participate in. I don't want them to be all formative end of the process tasks. I want them to be in parts of the writing process, whether it's the the pre-writing or the actual drafting, whether they're moving on. And I haven't really defined writing process. I'd like you to kind of define that for yourself along the way here. I think that it might be even better to say a writer's process. We know that we don't end with the final product. We don't start with the final product. We start with something different. And so, what are you going to create for your students to participate in that's going to engage them in different phases that are going to finally lead to the final project that you want them to do with their writing? What is it going to look like? Maybe it's going to be an assignment, an activity, interactive spaces from Read Write Think, some sort of collaboration, some sort of hands-on thing. I can think of lots of different ways you could go with this. Please don't I know sometimes we revert into that student that we maybe once were, where we're mostly concerned about the grade and we don't really, we're a little worried that we're going to mess this up. You're not going to mess this project up. Come along with me on things that are inquiry-based, collaborative, and cross-curricular. Those are the things we're looking for. I'm purposely keeping it vague, which is going to make some of you uncomfortable, but I'm really set on this because I don't want you to have the bridesmaid's dress that you'll never wear again. You know what I mean by that if you've ever been in weddings where, and this is maybe just to the females in the audience here, the bride always says that they're picking out a dress that you can wear in your daily life. I mean, you're going to find another use for this dress, and so that it justifies the $200. I don't want this project to be another bridesmaid's dress hanging in your closet. I want you to be able to really use it in your particular context of teaching, in your classroom, in the way that you want it to be used, keeping in mind that we are trying to change old ways of doing things and thinking outside within these new contexts of cross-curricular collaboration and inquiry-based. So, which makes it authentic. What's authentic about all of that? We know in the real world that much writing is done through collaboration, and end products are often the result of many minds gathering together and many tasks being done to make that writing happen. So that's the final theme for the day, is that make this your own so that it's not the ugly bridesmaid's dress hanging in your closet that you never use again. Have a great one, and we'll see you in Module 3.